Hey, what's up? My name is Devin, and I'm going to be teaching you how to make a nice oil smoke plume in Fumefx. And we'll also be diving into particle flow and yeah, pretty much emitting particles to make this. Let's see where to go to make this nice fluid motion coming up. Keys, yeah, okay. All right, so let's get started. Right here, I made a quick script which actually just makes a Fumebox. Nothing fancy, but if you guys want it, maybe I'll post it up. Alright, I have my Fumebox here. We're actually going to be working to scale here. So, just so you can work along with me, I'm going to make my, if you go to customize unit setup, let's see, my generic units is set up to, actually I should make this centimeters. Usually I work in centimeters. So in Fume, you know, you have all these options, and it's like, you know, turbulence 0.05. You know, it doesn't really make sense when you say like 0.2 meters turbulence or, you know, something like that. So usually I just leave it at generic units, but I do have it represented as centimeters right here. But I'm going to make this to scale, so real quick I'm just going to set up, make this metric, and it's good to kind of have a reference. Actually 3ds Max 2013 above, they have these viewport layouts, pretty nice, so switch it to a single view perspective. Okay, so I'm going to kind of make a perspective of a person here, so I'm going to make a box, and let's see, so let's see, a person's average height, probably like 2 meters height, so make that 2. Okay, so let's say that's a person. Let's start doing this in shaded. You know, smoke plume, oil plume, it's probably going to be pretty darn big, so, you know, maybe we'll put this at like 10 or 15 meters high, so you know, you don't always have to work like completely to scale in Fume, because I've actually noticed issues when you're large scale, so let's just put this to 10 meters. And yeah, put this to, we can work on that a little more, but delete this person here, and I'm going to change it back to generic units. Make sure that's still centimeters there. Okay, so we have our box here, but you know, nothing's really going yet, so let's make our particle flow right now. So there's a few ways that you could initiate particle flow in 3ds Max, but easiest way I find is just to open it up by pressing your number 6 on your keyboard. So let's open that up here. It might be kind of daunting at first, maybe not. It's pretty simple actually, but I'm not really going to dive too deep into it here, but I'm going to go to display and hide my depot so we have more room. Okay, so I'm going to right click and go to new particle system, empty flow. So pretty much Pflow is just a particle, I don't know, system pretty much, where you could, you know, you can do a bunch of different stuff. People have made like I don't know, like snow and like all these, you know, cool effects, but pretty much we're just going to use it as our emitter for our smoke or oil plume. So right here we have our basis for our source, but we don't have any particles emitting yet if you scrub through the timeline. So let's right click again, let's go to new, birth event, and birth, and nothing yet. We need to have we need to tell it where we want it to start being born. So let's right click again, let's go to new, actually let's right click on our event, let's go to append, which just means add on to pretty much. Let's go to append operator and position icon. So you know, we're still not getting anything here, so we need to hook this up to our render geometry. So you know, simple nodes, just hook them up right there. And if we scrub through, you'll see that we have these particles being born. And by default, they're being born on the 0, 0, 0 axis pretty much in the center of our grid right here. So, you know, the icon's pretty small, so we're going to want to emit particles in a much larger area. So let's actually click on that icon. We can edit the length and width, or we could edit over here. Let's see, position icon. Oh, there we go. PF source. Alright, so let's make this like 100 by 100. And I might want to make it a little smaller in a bit. I'm going to hide my grid but just by pressing G right now. So we have particles being born, but they're not going anywhere, which is not what we're looking for. So we need some velocity or speed. So we can do this pretty easily by adding a speed operator here. So let's append operator and where to go, speed. So now if we go through, we can actually see that our particles are going downwards, which again is not what we want, but if you look closely you can see that there's an arrow pointing down, which so that's by default max makes it pointing down. I don't really know why, but you could rotate this 180, or you could just let's let that update. You could just reverse it in the speed. So that's usually what I do, just to leave our transform or rotation just at 0, 0, 0. Okay, so we have our particles moving up, and they obviously stop emitting after, I think it's frame 30 by default. So let's change that. And by the way, under my settings for time configuration, I'm going to be working in film right here, and that automatically changes it to 80 frames because it's 8/10 of 30 FPS. So I'm going to change this to end time 100, and let's see, it should end at 24 frames now. So let's go to our birth. Let's change this to emit stop 100. So it should emit throughout the whole timeline. Looks good, but you know, it's not what we're looking for. If you use this as a emitter for our Fumefx, you're just going to make some huge flame fireball. It's not going to be looking too good. So okay, let's add a delete operator, because pretty much we just want this emitter to create the initial fuel and ignite, and we want Fume to do the rest of the work. So we're going to probably start deleting particles around here. So, you know, probably like 10 frames when I start deleting them. So okay, so I'm going to add a delete operator here, append operator, and delete. So right here you can see, yeah, nothing's here because we have to select by particle age, and I'm just going to make the lifespan like 6, I made the variation 5. Let's see how that looks. So pretty much the basis, it's going to be 6 frames per particle, but variation is 5, so you know, 6 minus 5 is 1, so 1 frame is the shortest it could live, and 11 is the longest. So I think that will be good. Maybe we can, let's play this. I'm going to make sure real time is on. And this is definitely too slow. Our scale is pretty big. Actually, if we click on our Fume container, yeah, height's like 1,000 because our scale is pretty big, but that's good. So under our speed, let's change this to like 750 and a variation of maybe 100. Let's play through. I think that'll be good. Maybe we can even push this up to 800. Alright, and then our delete, we can change this back down to like maybe 3, variation of 3. Okay, and as you can see, we don't really have that many particles now. We can up that particle rate, or we can change the total amount. So I like working at rate because pretty much if you change, you know, if anything's changed down the line, like the length of the timeline or something, if you had amount, then it would pretty much split that up and kind of, yeah, you wouldn't be getting as many particles if you expanded the timeline and changed the emit, stop. If you made that like 200, then that'd be less particles. So yeah. Okay, let's change out the rate. Maybe let's push this up. Something that looks good. I think that's looking pretty good. Set that down to like 250. Okay, now under speed, it's looking pretty computerized and not too dynamic. So in order to mix this up a little, we can add a little divergence right here, which is going to make them want to spread out. We can make like 25. So let's play this. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm thinking the speed is moving a little too fast now. It's down to 700. And our icon might be a little too big. Let's make that like 75 by 75. Even 60 by 60, because Fume is going to want to expand this fuel a lot. So, okay, we can actually move that a little, because what I'm thinking here, over here in this preview, I had a wind kind of moving to the right, so I'm thinking that looks pretty good, so we might want to try that out. So I'm going to move this a little toward the leftmost of this container. And so actually let's make our wind right now. So let's go over here to our space warps and let's make a wind. Okay, so let's just make that position over here and let's rotate that 90 degrees. Set that up there. And maybe we can make the strength of like 1.5, so a little turbulence. Okay, you're not going to see anything of the particles here because actually in this preview I was showing you guys, I don't think I actually set up the wind in Pflow. I think I just made it affect Fumefx, but I'm going to try it in Pflow. So let's go to append operator, force, there we go, and let's add in this space warp. So now we can see that it's drastically affecting these particles, and we don't really want it to affect that much. So let's go to influence, let that down to like, let's try 350. Still kind of too much. Let's play this. Okay. I think I'm going to set my delete down to like lifespan of 2. Okay. Alright, I think that's pretty good. That's what we're looking for. So may even change that wind influence down to 225. So these are all things that we could change down the line, but I'm just trying to finesse that a little. So alright, right now we have our emitter. Well, not really our emitter, it's just our particles. We need to make our emitter. So very much alike how you make Fume simple sources and object source. Let's just go to particle source and let's drag that out. Doesn't really matter where it is or how big it is. Let's pick our object or a particle source, which is going to be this icon right here. Let's see. Okay, if you zoom in here, we can see we have radius, radii, whatever you call them. Pretty small because our scale is pretty large. Okay, I'm actually going to pump the radius up to like, let's see what 15 looks like. Alright, I think that'll be good. Can make that like 13. Let's add some variation here too. Like 60. Just adds a little more dynamic feel here, so everything isn't looking the same. Okay, I think I'm going to up the amount of particles here, so let's make that like 275. Alright, so now let's get working in Fume. So let's click our Fumefx box, go into our UI, and let's add our emitter in the object source. So, alright, that's added in. And don't forget to set our cake directory, or else, well, yeah, I'm on a solid state drive right now, so limited space. I'm going to set this to a data drive. So I'm going to go default, or my default path. Okay, let's set this to my Seagate, and let's go. Alright, so let's make a default for default cache, and I'm going to make a wavelet turbulent cache just in case we get to wavelet turbulence, which just adds a little different, more detail. So I'm going to set this as my default cache and set this as my wavelet cache. It's just always good to set your paths first so you don't start simming and end up with you know, cake randomly spread out through your drive. So now that that's set up, technically we could just hit sim and we get some, I'm not sure how the results would look, but let's change our iterations down to like 80 so we can work a little quicker here. And wow, our spacing is actually pretty high there because large scale, but then again you're not looking as close, so should even out there. So I'm gonna make this down to like maybe using around 200 megabytes here. So alright, that should be good. I'm gonna hit sim here and just see what I get. Okay, I didn't completely sim this out, but it's good for now. I'm gonna just play this here. So, you know, some interesting motion here. We can already see that kind of plume effect right here. Obviously, it's pretty low resolution, so we're not going to get much detail there. But already it's looking pretty decent. I think first I'm going to change my shader for my smoke. So I'm going to change this from keyless mode. I'm going to make it 2 keyless modes so we can just set one color. Make it a little darker here. 30. And okay. That moves through. It's looking cool, but actually right now what's happening is these particles are making fuel, temperature, and smoke. So that smoke is being derived from those particles right there, and that's not really what we want. So actually let's hide the fire right now so you can see this. So pretty much just instantly is like being emitted from those particles. So what we want is actually to emit the smoke from the fire, which we'll get to in a second, but you can see we have a little clipping on the sides, but we can deal with that later. Okay, so basically let's put our fire back on. Let's put our smoke, let's actually put this to 0, let's see how that looks, and we're going to go in our sim tab and click fire create smoke under fuel, and let's up this to like maybe 9. Okay, and let's set some real quick basic settings. I think iterations are fine for now. On your final sim, I'd recommend, I don't know, it depends how fast stuff is moving, but maybe like 125. And simulation substeps, I recommend pumping that up to like 2 or 3 if you have something moving really fast, like if you have some fire debris like shooting out or something, like just so that Fume can update and see that. I put that to like 3 or something, but I think we're fine with this because nothing's moving too fast. Vorticity, I think we'll add a little more vorticity, maybe like 0.8. That just kind of mixes the fume grid up and adds a little more detail. Turbulence, normally I'd put like 0.2 turbulence, but we're working at a pretty large scale, so I'm going to try 1, and we'll see how that looks. Scale, let's push down the scale to like, let's see, yeah, like, let's see, 8, maybe we'll try 8. And frames is just kind of how long, like it, I think if you scrub through you can see it phase, so it's just telling it like how long you want it to phase or like how slow. So let's up this up to like 30 because we kind of want this to be like a graceful smoke plume from this oil. So okay, so I think that'll be good. Let's up our expansion a little because this is oil, so it's gonna want to like expand, and it should be pretty large. And we're seeing right now, actually, if you zoom in, it's really split up right here, and like you can see where the particles are emitting, and I think expansion will help solve that. It'll kind of help merge those together. So it's pretty sensitive. 1.2. Okay, smoke, diffusion, might add a little diffusion. Is also pretty sensitive. That kind of helps just soften up the side of the smoke. Burn rate, so our fire is looking, so it burns for quite a while right here. Maybe I'm going to push that up, so the higher you make this, the fire is going to last not as long because it's going to burn the fire quicker, so, or burn the fuel quicker, my bad. So let's make this like 35. Okay, so I'm going to sim this again and we'll see what we get. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Actually, I had to show smoke again, just don't forget to do that in case you're wondering why it's gone, if you did that also. Actually, definitely getting a lot more detail in the smoke. If we look at our previous cache, blah. Yeah, it's pretty dull right there, so I think the vorticity and our turbulence definitely help make some of that up a little more. I'm also thinking we could turn down the turbulence maybe to 0.75 for now. And let's see, we're getting a lot more like nice gushes from this from the fire. As you can see, it's not as like computerized. It's looking a little more dynamic here, so that's looking a lot nicer versus this. It's just kind of pretty dull. So okay, so it's looking pretty nice. I'm thinking the smoke might be raising up a little too fast. We can change that by going down to our temperature buoyancy. I'm gonna make that down to like 0.8, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see how our fire is looking right now. It's looking pretty good. I think it's still lasting a little too long, so I'll make this burn rate to like 30, 38. Some other things we could do is adjust the velocity multiplier. Yeah, I think maybe we could push this down and see what that looks like. So pretty much it's like the inherited force from particle flow, so it's taking like, if I put this up to like 2, these are moving pretty fast, so it would like force everything up pretty crazily. So I don't think we're going to want to push that up. Let's try 0.8 and we'll see how that is looking. I'm definitely liking the motion here. I'm going to put up my width to, let's see, put those to 600. Actually, we can display our fire and smoke, but before I do that, put reduce to like 5. So okay, yeah, it's not really clipping on the side any, like, looking pretty good on the right side, but actually I totally forgot, we need to add in that wind, so that'll give us some nice motion there also. So let's add in that wind right there, and actually you might want to adjust that 1.8. That's also gonna affect particles, which I don't really want to do, so let's put the influence down to like 200 right there. Okay, so let's move our grid over a little, and we'll see how that wind affects it also. And then we'll get to shading the fire in a little bit. So I'm gonna run another sim right now and actually push this down a little to get a little more detail. Okay, it's taking a little more while to sim here, obviously, because my spacing is lower, but I'm going to cancel that right now and see how that's looking. Okay, we're getting a really nice motion here. I think we can actually bump up. I'm just doing a little more finessing here. I think we can bump this up a little bit, 0.85, and I think our velocity multiplier can go back up a little, so we can put like 0.9, and variation, and we can vary this a little, let's put like 15. And I think that our fuel needs to expand even a little more. So let's go to expansion, let's put that 1.3. So that's looking pretty nice. I think we can turn our wind up a little, but okay, sorry, just stopping for a quick lunch break there. I think what we're going to want to do here is clone this wind. So let's clone that, make it a copy, not an instance, and this way we'll have one affecting the Pflow and one affecting Fume. So we can change them separately without interchanging any like dynamic issues and stuff. So yeah, let's name this. So right here we can make this Pflow wind, and we can make this Fume winds. I know I made an underscore there, not the other one. It's weird. Alright, so I'm gonna, yeah, that's okay. Add the Pflow one in there, so let's remove that. And let's add the Fume one. And as far as I know, the other one should be fine. Yeah, okay. So, alright, I'm going to change the Fume wind to like 3.3. And turbulence should be fine. Okay. Alright, looking good. What else? Oh, let's work on the shader a little before I run another sim. So let's get to a nice spot here. Alright, so the smoke is looking okay. Maybe we can make that a little darker. Okay, so the fire we can definitely work with. So I'm going to bump the color down to like 0.25 and make the opacity 3. We can change that however, so that just gives it a little more detail. I'm going to click on this, or actually right click and go to key mode. And let's click on that. So pretty much Fume, how it reads color is it's by density, or yeah, pretty much like how far it like goes into the Fume, so density I guess. So the white part is going to be probably towards the middle, but we can darken that up, make that black there. Okay, I'm just going with some kind of generic colors here. I think maybe right here we can make this a little more kind of blown out color. And kind of break that up a little there. And actually, just as my reference over here, yeah, I kind of had a little more white and blown out with a little orange on the outside, so I'm going to change this to more orangish. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I can always mess with that a little later. So yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna run another high-res sim here, and I'll see how it's looking. So I'm gonna put my spacing down to let's put 2, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so I simmed a lot of it here, and it's looking, yeah, it's looking a lot better. But again, there's still some things that we need to adjust, just some quick stuff. And also, I messed with the shader a little, and actually, I'll upload this for you guys if you want. Actually, I found that shader as the original one I used for the other test I was showing you. So, besides that, there's some other quick things. I think that our speed could be a little lower here, so we can make our speed like 500, and we can actually make this like maybe 85, just make it a little bigger here, and also some more particles, so push to like 400. 500 more particles and a smaller icon radius. Okay. Speed could still be lower. Okay, a few more things. I think our turbulence could be turned down a little, so let's make that like 0.5. Turn that down a little, like scale of 6. Just some quick things I'm going through right here. Diffusion, we can make that a little higher. Buoyancy, maybe we can put that to like 7, 8 or something. Oh, and one other thing, we're emitting like way too much smoke here, so it's more like a pyroclastic cloud, which isn't really what we're looking for. So I'm going to push this down to let's try 6. Yeah, I think I'll try that. I'll put burn rate down to 35. Yeah, because I kind of want that wind effect, like it's blowing over. So I'm going to try like a strength of like 6.5 here. And maybe I'll even put buoyancy down as 0.75. Okay, let's see our grid here. Let's see if we have any clipping. So we have a fire and smoke here. So I'm going to go to top view. Actually, it's a good way to kind of examine what's going on. So it's clipping a little on this side. So, you know, maybe I'll make this 650. Okay. Should be good in terms of our grid size. And also remember that our wind is a little higher, so it's going to want to push over, so I'm going to move our grid a little that way. Okay, so I'm going to run one more sim here, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so I simmed up to frame 70 here, and I definitely really like the result, and you could play around some more settings. I think if I had to go to sim this one more time, which I'm not, but I would probably just make the velocity multiplier go back to 1. I might make the diffusion, might actually up the diffusion a little, and yeah, I'd work with the turbulence a little. You know, maybe that could need some, you know, decreasing that a little more might help. But I really like the large scale look that we get now after adding a little more particles and making that icon a little bigger. It kind of has that pumping like oil feel. So Actually, I'll make a preview right here. So 70 and 24 FPS. Okay. Yeah, it looks really nice. So, alright, well, hope that this tutorial was helpful, and if you have any questions, just ask in the comments section below, and I'll get to you and help you out. So yeah, alright, thank you.